Baloiart. This wasn't the busiest, but was probably one of the more productive weeks we've had here in the European Parliament in Strasbourg in recent times. Firstly, we had a very big debate on Brexit, and this was necessary to give the Parliament an opportunity to express its views. There's a certain amount of tension and also impatience with the British, but I asked for a more conciliatory approach. We have to have a deadline of March 2019 for the British to formally leave, but then we will have a transition period. And I asked for that transition period to be open-ended, because if you have too many deadlines, then the clock starts ticking and everybody gets excited. What's needed now during that transition period, during which nothing will change, in other words, business will be able to be conducted as it is now, that they can work out over a period of time in a good cordial atmosphere what the relationship will be when the United Kingdom eventually leaves the European Union, and I think that's a good approach. And many MEPs came up to me afterwards and they were pleased with my intervention. Another very important aspect we did this week was I've been working on roaming charges since I came here in 2009. It's my committee, the ITRA committee as it's called, that has led this charge. We got rid of roaming charges in June this year, but one area we hadn't completed is what's called INTRA-EU calls. In other words, if you make a call from Kerry to France or Kerry to Germany, you could be charged extra. We think that is not in the spirit of the European Union. It's not in the spirit of the digital single market. So we've moved now to get rid of that, and the vote was overwhelming in our committee. This will now go forward to Parliament, and eventually we will get rid of that. So you'll have the same charges right across the European Union. That shows that MEPs can work for citizens, because the Commission actually refused to move on this topic, but we're now forcing their hand in the interest of all Europeans. Another area which I've been working on for some time is the whole question of clock change. The clocks are going to go back an hour on October 29th, winter comes in overnight. I have always been against this, but now the evidence which we are gathering shows that it affects people's health, it affects the lives of animals even, it affects milk production, and it can particularly have a detrimental effect on people with autism. So I am the only Irish MEP on a working group here in Parliament who are working to produce a resolution which hopefully will eventually get enough support right across the European Union to end this 2-hour clock change every year, twice a year, a 1-hour clock change. And finally, in my capacity as the shadow for the Renewables Energy Directive, we had a lot of meetings this week on biofuels. And I made a very strong point that, number one, the Commission should not be trying to phase out biofuels, that the biofuels have a very important role to play if we're talking about decarbonising our economy and particularly decarbonising the transport sector. And there's a big difference between biofuels produced here in Europe and biofuels which maybe come from products like palm oil, which have to be imported into Europe, and it can often lead to land use change in those countries. So I've made that point strongly. I hope enough people will see it, because farmers should be entitled to produce the products that are needed and that they can make a profit on, and that is something we'll continue to work on. There were many other topics, but I think those 4 are enough for the moment. There's a lot of fuel in them, so look at them, and maybe during the clock change period you'll have a lot of time to be reading and looking at videos. But we will change that too eventually. Thank you.